what led me to CoffeeSpace was COVID, actually. Because of COVID, many of the things, the social elements of work was not there. It's front end, it's built with Flutter Flow, and back end is Firebase. But Proxycurl is one of the tools we use to enrich, the user profile.
Hi, I'm Colton, here with Proxycurl. Normally you would find me over on the blog, but today you'll find me either on the blog or on YouTube. And I'm here with Hazim, the founder of CoffeeSpace. So I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
So I'm Hazim, co-founder, CEO of CoffeeSpace. We're building the Tinder for people exploring ideas to find co-founders, essentially. That's the easiest way to explain it. Short background about myself. I'm from Malaysia, born and raised. Went to the UK for my undergrad. Came to the US about 8 years ago. Slightly more 8 years now. I came for my grad school. I was in MIT. I was doing the Masters of Financial Engineering, the M10 program over there. Went to the World Bank for about 5 years. I was in DC, much colder weather than it is in SF. So I moved from the worst weather of Boston to SF. That has been the gradual shift. But I was with the World Bank for 5 years. I was doing basically quantitative risk for the treasury portfolio management. So my team managed basically the risk of a 45 billion portfolio-ish. Which is completely different than what CoffeeSpace is, of course. What led me to CoffeeSpace was COVID, actually. Because of COVID, many of the things, the social elements of work was not there. Right? So I'm like, okay, I have a bit more time now working from home in DC, and let's explore some ideas. I posted about a problem space. CoffeeSpace was not the first iteration of the idea I explored, actually, but I posted about the problem space I was passionate about on Facebook, LinkedIn. My co-founder, Corinne, reached out. We did not know each other, and this ties up to why we believe CoffeeSpace is so important. Because I thought about an idea for 2 years, didn't do anything about it till Corinne reached out, right? And she was a stranger. We met at a random event years before that, never kept in touch, but because of this article, we connected. So we explored things over weekend. Again, when you don't go to school together, have work together, you need to build that foundation of a relationship, of trust, basically, of that working relationship. So what we did was that she was at Facebook at the time. We explored things over weekends. We had a call every Sunday night, 2-3 hours. We'll talk about the things we want to learn, read, watch, or explore, validate over the next week. And that was what was for months. We didn't know we wanted to do a startup full time, right? We were perfectly happy with our jobs. But you explore things enough, and it gets somewhere.
And then what was your primary role in CoffeeSpace in comparison to how your partner complemented your role as well?
So we, in terms of interest, personality, we couldn't be further apart. And that's why it's so perfect, right? We cover absolutely. We complement each other perfectly in that sense. So she is the engineer, she handles the product side, essentially. The app you saw, she built alone in 2 months, front end, back end, design, algo, My co-founder handles the engineering technical side. I handle everything else, essentially. So fundraise is on me, customer support, growth, getting users on board, legal, finance, all the things that you need to keep a rep company going. Basically, your team has to do everything, right? When it's just a 2-3 person team. It was 2 of us. We added a third co-founder rather recently.
Now, I also have a question for you. I forget which Tinder-like dating app does this or says this, but one of them has a slogan we're the app that's designed to be uninstalled.
Yeah.
So my question to you is essentially, if your app is to work, probably ideally they would find their partner and then not need the app anymore.
Yes.
Is that correct? Have you ever thought about that?
No, that's not. That was the assumption. That was the assumption we needed to validate, essentially. Is it true that when people find a co-founder, they're gone from the app? And we have been around long enough. We launched our app in March, so it's been over 6 months since launch. But no, that is not true. For 3 reasons, people stick around. So the first reason is this is not like dating in the sense you find your partner, you got to leave the apps, right? You can't just stay on Tinder if you're in a committed relationship. Generally, that is the societal convention.
Generally speaking,
Yes. But no, not for co-founders, right? You could find a third co-founder. We added a third co-founder, as said, we have multiple users. So they won't be as actively swiping. They're open to inbound because a co-founding team can very well be 3 people, if not up to 4 people. It's not rare to see beyond 4-person founding team. So this is not like a marriage where it's 1-to-1 generally. So second reason is people are already finding their early hires on CoffeeSpace. So employee number 1, 2, 3, for example, they're very close to a co-founder in nature. So we had double trial periods with people who could be our first founding hires as well through CoffeeSpace. And they swiped on us. So they told us, right, Hazim, I'm exploring ideas, but I don't mind being a founding hire as well. So this is the natural expansion. Again, right, people are sticking around for that. We have not optimized the platform for that purpose yet. We are not publicly stating that, but it is a use case that we are actively exploring, essentially, given that it is already happening on the platform. A third of the people who have told us they are working together right now are actually of early hires.
Cool. So I get you. They might need more than just that first original sort of founder.
Right.
So they
That's
might
right. And the
stick around
third
for that
reason,
as
so
well.
it's the third additional co-founders, early hire. And the third reason is just the velocity of startup life, right? Like 6 to 12 months is roughly the lifespan of the startup. Marriages last a lot longer, 15, 20 years. So within 6 to 12 months, we see them coming back. Because even if it's a good co-founder relationship, if the idea is invalidated, and they need to explore something else, we have users who come back like, okay, we need to explore something. As long as you have the startup bug, you always need something.
That is very fair. Like startup founders rarely just start.
It's just the nature of the space, right? It's very hard to have a startup immediately succeed. Usually it takes a few iterations, just like ourselves. It took us 3 iterations before we got to this idea. So that actually helps people come back. And so the LTV, the tail life of people on our platform is a lot longer than we initially assumed.
Gotcha. And then what is the app built with?
So it's on the front end, it's built with Flutter Flow. So that's the front end. Back end is Firebase. But Proxycurl is one of the tools we use to enrich, the user's profile, right? We have the founder profile, the co-founder preferences, but you do want basically the enrichment of LinkedIn information, the experience education there.
And then, so you said you used Flutter for the front end, but what was the back end built with?
Firebase.
Okay, gotcha.
For the simple reason, it just integrated really quickly, easily with Flutter Flow, right? Because we're using Flutter Flow on the front end, it affects many of the decisions of the other tools we use. For example, we chose Revenue Cat for subscription management instead of Stripe because it just integrated easier with Flutter Flow as well.
I'm gonna look that up really quick. Actually,
I had never heard of Revenue Cat before that, but they've done the job for us. We've been very happy using the platform. But they are basically an alternative to Stripe for subscription management. So,
Interesting. Okay. And then so just the general app is essentially, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it's kind of just being about like the Tinder for startup founders, essentially. So it's all centered around like finding the missing puzzle piece for your startup idea. So like if you're maybe, the business, marketing, sales oriented side, you might want a technical co-founder on the other end, right?
That's right.
Right. And then so it's just all about integrating and connecting these people at the end of the day.
Yep. So basically, we collect data points, and based on these data points, we match people up algorithmically. And people can change their preferences and all. It's the UI is quite similar to Hinge. That was our main source of inspiration.
Yeah, even with like the Tinder yes or the Tinder no.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't exactly swipe, but this is deliberate, right? Because when you can just swipe, you're gonna not think too long. You're not going to deliberate too much on a profile. So that's why Hinge, you have to like a specific part of the profile, to optimize for a match, to optimize for connection. So that is the model we are going after essentially. Yeah. So no, we will not introduce a swipe element anytime soon until validated. People will still put in the time deliberation as they should do.
Fair. Okay, and then so when you sign up, you have to insert your LinkedIn URL, right?
That's right.
And so you're using our API on the backend, Proxycurl, to populate a lot of the profile information from that LinkedIn URL?
That's right.
The person profile?
Profile picture, education experience mainly. There are other elements which we might use in the future depending on what users tell us they want, what the algorithm needs. But for now, that is what we are doing. And that saves users a lot of time, of course.
Gotcha. So that right there is primarily how you're using Proxycurl right now?
That's right.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool.
But it's also for the initial, of course, the initial review of users, right? We are now building an auto. Thus far, I have reviewed every single person. The 5,600 people who have joined CoffeeSpace.
So that's how many people, I was going to ask that as well. There's 5,600 people so far?
That's how many people we have on CoffeeSpace right now. That's correct. So, but we need to know that it's an actual person, right? It's not just.
So you are verifying.
That's
right now.
So
you're verifying individually everybody that's signed up.
Most people go through, of course, but there are specific things we look for within the LinkedIn profile to approve it. Otherwise, right? It's likely that this person has not, because people don't even populate their LinkedIn profiles too much. It's hard for us to believe they're serious about.
Yeah, there are some people that are qualified business individuals that have a relatively blank LinkedIn.
That's right. The number of education experience. If it's zero experience, zero education, it will require my manual intervention to look at. But this also, number of followers. If they've only started the account, with 10 followers, for example, so it's not a definite. So it's like there's an auto approval process, not an auto denial. I will be reviewing the edge cases for me to see, if this is a person suitable to be on the network. Otherwise.
Have you received any funding yet for CoffeeSpace?
Yeah, so we have raised a total of $500,000 thus far. So these are mainly from angels. Many of these angels are actually our users. So it's interesting, right? Because these people are in the startup space, quite a few of them are angel investors. They're exploring some ideas themselves. But we have raised $500,000 to date from angels.
Nice. When I was using the app, it kind of looks like your monetization strategy is just to make it easier to find partners. Is that fair? Like that's your monetization
For those
strategy?
most motivated to solve it faster. So the basic version, the minimum version, free version of CoffeeSpace is good enough to give people leads consistently. But if you really want more leads fast, so it's basically creating differentiated experiences, with artificial scarcity, right? Like you basically lock certain things, which the most motivated people will want. For example, I can give an example of a premium filter. It's prior startup experience. If you want to filter for people who have sold a company before, started a company before, or worked in a startup before at least, right? Like, then these are premium filters. You don't need a co-founder who has sold a company before. If you want that,
Yeah. So if you paid for the premium subscription, you would have the ability to essentially filter for more qualified individuals.
That's right. Yeah, you get more leads per day. You get premium filters. Your invites go up of the top of the list, right? Like instead of chronologically, if for example you had 10 invites, the person with the premium account would have their invites go right up to the list. But these are all strategies dating apps have used that we have learned from essentially.
Yeah, gotcha. What are you doing to grow, and what is the future, like what do you have planned for?
So we're getting users through a few main ways. One is, of course, word of mouth, right? People who are looking for co-founders have spoken to other people looking for co-founders. So because we're so niche, right? At this point, not many people are serving the co-founder matching space. Apart from Y Combinator's co-founder matching platform, there are not really that many other credible, very established platforms out there. So word of mouth is one of us. Users post testimonials about us. We did a product hunt launch. So these big events like product hunts, like TechCrunch, they give us waves of new word of mouth of new engagement. LinkedIn, I've been building in public, so I've been posting our progress almost every week, basically on LinkedIn, Twitter. It has been another major source. These have been our main ways of getting users.
Mostly just organic word of mouth, just getting your name out there, more or less.
So social media, PR, basically, we've had multiple people publish about us on their blogs, and we've been featured in a few sites. I would say that those are the main ways right now.
I could imagine sites like Indie Hackers could be useful for you, or even like college campuses in the United States as well.
I mean, funny you should say that because one of our users, so Stanford is our #1 user pool by school. Stanford people make up about 10% of the users pool of CoffeeSpace right now. So what one of our users did was he wrote a simple email in a newsletter, in a mailing list, right, called Stanford Venture Groups. Stanford Venture Groups, everyone in Stanford, generally at grad school and above, building a startup. 80 people signed up overnight just from that one email. So schools have been where word of mouth has been propagated by users sharing about this in mailing lists, Slack groups, WhatsApp groups.
For the future, what do you guys have planned? Do you have anything major planned for the near future?
So, of course, right, we're preparing for TechCrunch. So some of the things we're working on in-house is, of course, one is improving the algorithm itself, right? That is a consistent thing. That's a continuous process we are doing. But there are 3 main phases to it, which I can share. So the first one is what we already have on the app. It's called the Boolean level, right? Yes, no, binary. Are you within 50 miles of me? No. Are you technical or not technical? Are you open to an equal split, or are you're fully negotiable equity-wise? So these are just yes, no parameters. But the next level is what we are now able to start exploring because of Proxycurl, actually. This is what we call the social graph level. With LinkedIn information, I can actually start defining what are the similar people to those you're swiping right on, right? As you swipe, we can actually now use swipe data to say, hey, you haven't told us this preference within your profile setup, but you keep swiping on people with 7+ years experience in fintech. This is a data point we will use to further, so it's self-teach basically the algorithm to get better, to learn what is relevant to you. So this is the second level. And the third level is what we call the semantic level. This is where we're going to use some OpenAI embeddings to start defining the semantic level, right? If you and I are both building in travel, we define our ideas, we pass this information through the OpenAI API, and these are the 2 statements of our ideas. If our ideas are 90% match, we should be ranked higher than just some random, non-matching ideas essentially. But we can do the same for working style. What they write, right? This is my motivation to build a startup. This is my working style. This is what I want to devote my life to. So algorithm will be a big part of what we continue to do to make this better as the number of users scale. Because we need to we need to ensure relevance as this thing scales, right? Otherwise, you have 1 million people on it. It's going to be much harder for you to find the right person. The algorithm doesn't learn from you. Second is basically exploring this second or third problem space, right? Co-founder matching will be our focus at least for the next year and a half, up to Series A most likely. But beyond that, it's these 2 problem spaces. It's either the early hire space or the one we feel is more synergistic immediately. Really is just basically unlocking the value of the data, because accelerators, early stage investors have already told us, Hazim, you have information that is very valuable within your database, right? Essentially, before anyone else when someone wants to build. before they apply to YC, because we people only apply to VCs, etc., when they have a co-founder, but we know before they have that. If I want to be the first check to these founders, that is very valuable information. So it's basically creating a backend equivalent where investors will be able to see profiles of users who opt in for this.
Yeah.
So users will be triggered a notification, hey, there are investors who might want to look at your profile. Would you want to opt in? I've interviewed dozens of users. They're like, yeah, this is the time. Hazim, share my information with them. But if you tell me 5 VCs viewed my profile this week, I'm going to be very motivated to check my profile. Not only that, but make it updated.
Yeah, that is very valuable data for sure.
It's a living network, right? Instead of Crunchbase, PitchBook, which is more passive data. Why LinkedIn is so valuable is because it's active data. It's a network, right? But that is the equivalent we will do on CoffeeSpace essentially, because it is a living network. Yeah.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
There is, of course, right? There's a lot of uncertainties, maybe even stigma against people finding co-founders on such a platform, right? The general perception is that you must know your co-founder through school, through there's history, right? Because there's trust. The startup journey is very difficult, so you need that strong bond. At least that is the perceived. But it's the same thing as online dating. I would say 10 years ago, no one would believe online dating could be a thing, should be a thing. Now 30% of Americans find their long-term partners online, right? And it's the same for co-founder matching. What has happened?
I'm actually one of those.
Yes,
I'm part of that statistics.
Exactly, right? Like my co-founder found her partner, on Hinge herself. So it's just, it's a stigma before it becomes mainstream. And it's the same thing here, right? Like YC has already funded 28 companies, 28 pairs who met through their co-founder matching platform. If you do the math, they only take in 1-2% of people, right? Which means hundreds, if not more than 1,000, 2,000 pairs have formed just through YC's co-founder matching. And as this becomes more mainstream, we feel like what Tinder, Bumble, Hinge did for online dating, that is what we want to do for people starting companies globally. So that is what CoffeeSpace is. That is the long-term vision of CoffeeSpace, essentially. And that's what makes us excited each day to work on this.
Awesome. Honestly, I love the idea. I really like the Tinder for startup founders twist angle. I think it's really cool. I wish you the best of luck. Alrighty, thanks for watching, guys.
All right, thanks, everyone.